Let's welcome Kathy Holly and Spotlight.
Welcome to Spotlight. How wonderful. This is the wonderful Mike Greensill. Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm very well, Kathy. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to have you on the show. This is terrific. And I just want everybody to know this is my one guest tonight. We're going to spoil Mike, and you're going to hear all about Mike and his wonderful career and his, you just played something and you composed it. That's the piece you play before you do
Yes, that's the theme tune for my Facebook live show called Jazz in the Afternoon.
And it was such wonderful nourishment during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic. I would listen, I would have my little, whatever cocktail at the time. And so it's great to have you on the show, Mike. And for those of you who don't know, you were originally from England. And,
right.
And of course, you're a well-known jazz player, composer, writer, arranger. I don't know what else you do, dishes and windows too. But
I do, actually. Yeah.
And you've written 2 books, which are just marvelous. We'll talk about that. But give the audience a little background. When did you get into music? I mean, in England.
Oh, I joined the church choir when I was about 8 or 9. A marvelous musical education. I was lucky that I came from a small village, but the organist and choir master at the local church was sort of nationally renowned for being a choir leader. So I got a wonderful musical education. And also the magic thing was he was also the local veterinarian and the local gourmet. And he would take a couple of us out on his rounds after Sunday morning services. And so I've seen awful things on the farm, postmortems on sheep and things. And of course, then he would take us to the pub, being very English.
Oh, but that's part.
None of it will be allowed but now,
That's all part of culture. That's right. Whoops, would be. That's true.
We had a cat accident. I apologize.
Yeah.
Moving the phone again.
The cat is a big part of your family. It's all right.
I should have locked him away, but that's okay.
No.
It's all part of the glamour of live television.
That's right, live television. And here we are live. And I just, another thing I want to bring. Well, of course, you ended up in the business, in showbiz, and as a professional musician. So you came over from England and you eventually stayed with the piano. That was your main instrument, I guess, after a while.
Yeah, I actually started on clarinet. I was a clarinet player. I went to music college as a clarinet major, but the piano just sort of took over. I loved playing the piano. And some of it was just a practical thing. There was more work for a piano player than there was for a clarinet player.
Yes, no kidding. Because you work with singers, and I want to get to that because this is the amazing part. You are a wonderful accompanist, and you've even written a book about playing the piano for singers. And I hope every pianist would read it. You know what Michael Feinstein said? I mean, he just thinks he said in a world deeply populated with music books, this is a special one that teaches you how to accompany in an insightful and approachable way. Thanks to Mike's musical wisdom and experience, it fills a gap. Yes, it does fill a gap. How to accompany a singer. Very few
Right.
artists even really want to know about it. So tell me why you wrote it. It's wonderful. What made you write it?
Why I wrote it? Oh, because I've heard so many bad accompanists, and the thing about accompanying is most piano players don't start thinking out that that's what they want to do.
Right.
You know, often they're reluctant accompanists, and they're just hoping to pass through that to become a soloist of some sort. But I eventually discovered through my late wife, Westla Whitfield, mainly that that's what I loved doing, was accompanying singers.
Oh,
And so it
Well-
all worked out great.
And of course, you two worked together. You were like, what? I guess pepper and salt. It was fantastic. I want to show a clip from you're on YouTube and you are explaining a little bit about the book. So let's watch this clip that
Okay.
talks about your book, Playing for Singers.
All right.
Hi, my name's Mike Greensill. Welcome to Playing for Singers. This is a series of videos based on my book, Playing for Singers, that's published by Share Music. Details on how to order it are at the end of the video. I'm going to talk today about out-of-tempo accompanying. Here are some of the terms you'll see on your music. Con voce is an Italian term meaning with the voice, implying that the accompanist must accommodate the singer's phrasing. Rubato is defined as stolen or robbed and means take a portion of a note's duration and give it to another note. Of course, freely and out of tempo speak for themselves. Let's face it, it's out of tempo. And this brings up an important point. If a passage is out of tempo, then make sure it's performed out of tempo. Inexperienced singers will often not alter their phrasing at all when faced with out-of-tempo passages. And so the vocal line will sound like it's being sung in tempo, just slower. Remember, in our style of music, the written note is just a guide, and we can manipulate it in any way we choose. There are many reasons for the arranger and singer to utilize out-of-tempo passages, but the two main ones are A, to enable the singer to tell the story of the lyric in a conversational manner, or B, to provide dramatic contrast in relation to the in-tempo passages. Whatever terminology is used, it is most often encountered in the singing of verses. And by verses, I mean verse in the old-fashioned sense of the word, when songs had a verse followed by a chorus.
Well, I'll tell you, we could go on. I mean, it's just terrific what you've done, Playing for Singers. And the singers you've worked with, I'm so impressed. Rita Moreno, Margaret Whiting, Lilias White from Broadway, and Frank D'Ambrosio, who I've seen at Feinstein's. And
Yeah.
jazz singers, of course, Madeline Eastman and Hampton Calloway, and then your wife, your lovely wife, Westla Whitfield. So I can imagine accompanying all of those different personalities, Mike.
Oh, well, yes, you have to be as much a diplomat and a psychiatrist as a piano player when you're dealing with the divas.
Yes, that's right. And, which brings me to something else. One of your many talents was when you were on the Sedge Thompson's West Coast Live radio show.
Yeah.
Radio show. And it was just so much fun. And that's gone, of course. I would come back.
But we did it for 25 years, or we had a good long run.
Really and truly. And as a solo, I mean, as an accompanist and a writer and all of this, I know that you have worked with your own trio, accompanying singers and everybody.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at a clip with you playing with your jazz trio before Pamela Joy's show.
Okay.
Trio itself. Let's take a quick look.
Okay.
That is really amazing. You've worked with so many great musicians, Mike, in the Bay
Yeah.
Area, right?
Oh yeah, we're blessed in the Bay Area with some great rhythm sections, great bass players and drummers. So yeah,
Right. And then when you were in England, you said something about, I don't know, it came up maybe in your Greensill Groove documentary that
yeah,
you were in England, and then you talked about your life and said no jazz. And then I guess you ended up really loving the American songbook, and you are definitely a jazz player and an
yeah,
accompanist, of course.
yeah. Well, that's the magic of how I evolved, and why I was so lucky to meet Wesla. And she came from a classical background. She was with the San Francisco Opera, but she liked to disappear to sleazy nightclubs and sing standards. And I came from the jazz end of things. And so she taught me about the importance of the lyric and the story. And I taught her how to swing more. And so I think together we sort of came up with a whole different person than the two of us. So that was what was lucky.
That was just a great combination. And I know that we're going to show a little clip of you talking in the Greensill Groove. That's your documentary. And I
Yeah.
imagine you can see that on YouTube, because I did spot this on YouTube. So for those who,
Yes, that was done by a couple of young fellas for their, they were doing their masters in filmmaking. So they asked if they could do a documentary on me, and so I did. And it was
great.
shown at the local cinema, which was fun.
very
And,
exciting. Well, let's show a clip of it right now. Here
all
we
right,
Greensill Groove.
all right.
Was brought up in this wonderful little English market town called Dursley. But luckily we had a fabulous choir in the church. And so I joined the choir when I was about 9 and learned to sight sing and all of that. And so I was always interested in music, and there was a piano at home, and my mother played a bit, and my father was a church organist. When I was about 12 or 13 in school, someone brought in a Louis Armstrong record. I was absolutely smitten by this music, by the fact that it was improvised, that it was so majestic and melodic, and that it swung. I was lucky in a way because I was first turned on by the beginnings of jazz. So even though those beginnings of jazz were starting in like 1920s, in the 50s, I was starting at the same time and, got more modern and I took it all in. Eventually decided I wanted to be a clarinet player. So I got a clarinet when I was about 14 and took lessons at school. And I got really pretty decent on clarinet. And in fact, when I was about 21, I joined a band that was professional and traveling. And we went all through England and we went to Switzerland, I remember. And it was around that time that I decided I wanted to be better trained. And this course had just popped up in England. It was 1968. And in England, there was no such thing as a jazz course at a music college. It was just the second year of that course, and I sent away for an application. I did an audition, and I got in. I got accepted.
All right, we are back, and I loved it because I spotted some photos of when you were growing up, And it will be fun for people to watch this documentary and see what you look like and what you sounded like and what you talk about. Which brings me up to something else that, you and Wesla worked together all over. Briefly tell me, it was all over the United States, and then you went to Europe too. But kind of
Yeah.
capsule, you and Wesla worked all the way up to the White House.
Yeah, we played a lovely gig at the White House for Hillary, and we played Carnegie Hall 4 times. So with other people on the bill, we weren't all on our own, but it was a great honor. So we played marvelous places. I remember once I was at Carnegie Hall, then I flew back to San Francisco to do one of my regular saloon gigs, which that particular night was unbelievably noisy and crazy. And I wanted to tell everyone to shut up. Don't you realize I was at Carnegie Hall last night?
I really dreamed. Of course.
The vagaries of show business.
I know when after Wesla passed, it's just amazing. I was looking at some of the footage of the memorial to Wesla, and I just want the audience to see a little bit of this because in just a short little way, you see how loved she was, and some of the people from the Bay Area, wonderful musicians that attended. So let's take a look at that clip, and
Okay.
bring me to the Whitsill scrapbook, which is a copy I have and I love. So here we go. This is from the beginning, Wesla's memorial, just a short
People
clip.
say to me often, Wesley,
Okay.
they say, don't you realize that as long as you insist on living in San Francisco, you can never have a career? To which I say, yeah, I'm going to have a life instead. If I've no will to go from home, if I've no urge the seas to roam, or turn my back on a distant star, and never burn to wander far, it's not because of fear, it's because my goal is clear. There's a far land, I'm told, where I'll find a field of gold, but here I'll stay with you. And they say there's an isle deep with clover, where your heart wears a smile all day through. But I know well they're wrong, and I know where I belong, and here I'll stay with you.
Well, that was a perfect ending. I know that the focus for the last shot was a good time was had by all and all the wine bottles. So I know that, Wesla enjoyed her wine for sure, and you enjoyed yours. That was quite impressive. Now, I just, going on from there, Mike, it's just interesting because it sounds like you not only went from Carnegie Hall to the White House, but you also did some touring in the Midwest a little bit. I saw a clip of Wesla singing this great song that I love because I used to sing a lot of Patsy Cline. And you were in Nebraska, I believe. Now, I'm not sure if she did this in Nebraska.
Oh, if you're playing that one, no, this is in Napa. It's Silos in Napa.
Oh, Walking After
Recorded at Silo. Yeah.
That's right. But what I love is it's so great because I sang a lot of country tunes, but the way she did it, her interpretation, her phrasing is wonderful. So we got to share that with the audience. So here we
Okay.
go. We'll play a short clip, part of Walking After Midnight.
All right.
Here we go.
I go out walking after midnight in the moonlight, just like we used to do. I go out walking I go out walking after midnight, searching for you. I stop to see a weeping willow crying in his pillow. Maybe he's crying for me. And when the night is gloomy, those night winds whisper to me, I'm lonely as I can be. I go out.
Oh, I can't. I just love her phrasing and how she sang that. The way now, how was that difficult for you to adjust to a country tune like that?
No, I think I came up with that little riff and then applied it to the tune, and you know, it was a nice carpet for Westler to sing.
You know, and that's playing for singers because I listened
Right.
to the accompanying, and it is so great that there's not a lot going on. It's just,
Right.
you know, wonder, like you said, the riff. That's what that. Yeah.
It sets the atmosphere, though.
Oh, very much so. It really does. I would love to hear you just because we don't have much time left. Can you do something on the piano that you enjoy playing? Tell me one of your maybe favorite pieces.
Okay, this is a tune I love that nobody knows called Wonder Why, written by a gentleman called Nicholas Brodsky, who was worked in Hollywood, and Sammy Cahn, the great lyricist. So a tune called Wonder Why. The great thing about the American popular song is that you can spend an absolute lifetime just discovering the tunes written between 1920 and 1960.
Well, that is great. Oh,
Sorry. I'm so embarrassing. I'm having terrible cat trouble.
that's all. We'll correct him later. But all right, here we go. We don't
Here
have
we
much.
go. Wonder Why.
Terrific. Love it. I love it. And does it have lyrics? Of course.
Oh, wonderful. Sammy Cahn lyrics. Yeah.
Oh, see that I would love to hear the lyrics to that song.
Yeah, it's a good tune. Wonder why I'm not myself of late. I'm feeling kind of great. I wonder why. So,
That, you know, I was a chance I did go to Los Angeles and listen to a wonderful performance by some composers of these great songs and most of them, the lyricists, you know, and they're gone. I mean, these people were just wonderful. There's nothing like the 30s, 40s standards and the wonderful songs. Wonderful, wonderful. So, Michael, now when you do your next gig on Facebook, what day of the week and what time will it?
I've taken a bit of the summer off. I'm coming back in September, Wednesday, September the 8th or 9th, whatever the date is on the Wednesday after Labor Day. So I'll be back then doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Oh, that's wonderful because I look forward to that. And everybody, I have to tell the audience out there, you've got to do this. Log on to Facebook and hear Mike's playing and enjoy it. Have a cocktail. Usually it's in the mid-afternoon, around 3 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock West Coast time. Because I have lots of listeners in England and now Australia. So in Australia, they listen to me over breakfast. And then in England, it's 11 o'clock at night. So they listen to me when they're going to bed.
Of course, but that's great. That's what's so beautiful about Facebook. And then I can listen to it all over again at 5 o'clock if I want.
Yeah, they're all saved on Facebook. You can go back. Oh, there's about 200 shows online, I think, at the moment. So,
well, this is just great. And also, I wanted to just give a plug to the Whitsill scrapbook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's time for me to say goodbye. It was so wonderful. There goes my cat, which is the alarm. It was so great having you on the show, Mike.
It was a pleasure.
And I'll see you in person in St. Helena or elsewhere on Facebook. Take care.
That's good.
And play us out if you can. That would be great.